Hi, thanks for joining me again. This is the US Futures weekly chart analysis for the week ending 1st of July 2022. The first chart is the US dollar index. We always do this one first. You can see the US dollar index closed higher this week. Here's the highs of the range. We've seen supply come in at this level previously, and the lows of the range. This week's bar and the previous week's bar both traded inside the range of this bar, where a little supply came in 2 weeks back. You can see that there was very little selling pressure emerge on this bar 2 weeks ago, and this week price has tested for supply early, obviously didn't find anything serious, and then it's pushed higher this week, closing up near the highs of the range on a slight increase in volume, but only about average, so not excessive. This market appears poised to accelerate higher, and that will play some part in many of the other charts, in particular commodities that are priced in US dollars and currencies. Next chart is the E-mini, the S&P 500 index futures. This market's trading lower under a negative influence, sell the rallies sentiment. You can see how there's quite a bit of congestion forming through here now. This is a market that doesn't really want to go lower, but it's being forced lower. It's being pushed lower. This week the bar traded almost inside the previous two bars all week, on an increase in volume about average, not excessive, a mid-bar close. This is a market that's reluctantly moving lower, but it is doing so. It doesn't look strong enough to push higher at the moment, and I expect if the US dollar moves higher, it'll put a bit more pressure on this market. But this is a market that doesn't want to go lower. It's being pushed, kicking and screaming down, if you like. This is the US Treasuries 10-year note futures. Normally trades the inverse of the E-mini. Price pushed higher this week on an increase in volume, but not quite up to the average. Spread was above average, so that means selling pressure was weak in the market this week. There wasn't much selling pressure. That allowed a modest amount of buying to push price higher. I expect that this level here is where you'll find resistance lies in the near term. There's some suggestion it could be here, but I think you'll find this is the level right here where price just moved a little lower. There was an attempt to absorb, price broke down where this level's marked. I expect above that, if price was able to get through 120 successfully, you'll have this level and then this level to look at above. It's a promising move. There's quite a bit of congestion in here, so it's not too serious a move at the moment. This would be a much more significant move if price can push out above the 120 level and hold that level. Copper price futures. Copper has really succumbed to the strength that's being shown in the US dollar recently. Price has broken down. You can see there was a gap that formed back here many weeks ago now, which really took care of this rise in price, and the market's been moving lower ever since. Spread narrowed this week. Volume remained above average, but it was slightly less than the previous three bars. An element of buying support came in this week. It may not be particularly strong, but the fact that spread narrowed on above average volume suggests there was a bit of quiet buying support emerge. Whether much can come from that, or if the market remains under pressure, whether it still moves lower but a bit more reluctantly than these wider spread bars, we'll have to wait and see. But there was an attempt to support the market this week, albeit not particularly strongly. Gold price futures. Gold price futures have been remarkably resilient recently. Most other charts throughout this period here have stretched much lower, and gold price futures have held on really strongly. The lows of the range have been threatened this week on average volume. Price hasn't really broken down. You'd have to say it's just threatening to break down. And if it was to break down, there is increased support just down here anyway. This is another level where there should be further support. So I don't expect any serious breakdown in the near term. If both levels were broken down, there's even further support here at 1750. So there is good support below. Price is trying to hold on at this 1800 level, and it's been remarkably resilient over many weeks now. Compare that to silver price futures, which along with copper have been really stretching lower. This was the old lows of the range, which were broken here. Price was unable to recover back above those lows. It was fading lower here and trying to hold on, and price has broken down again this week. This appears to be a clear breakdown. Only a reversal now would save this market. If it can't reverse pretty much immediately next week, then this will be a resistance level, which will be difficult to recover back above, at least in the near term. You'll find that the $20 level will be a psychological level as well on this chart. Aussie dollar currency futures. The 70 cent level has been breached again. It almost appears as though price has broken down again this week. There is an element of minor support at 68. So price may attempt to hold on around this level, at least for a period. The stronger support appears to be around 65. It seems less likely now that price will recover back above the 70 cent level. This was a deep penetration here and here, an inability to recover last week, and potentially a further breakdown this week. It looks like 68 will attempt to hold, and if not, I expect price will head down now to 65. Bitcoin futures. Bitcoin futures have been under pressure recently. These are the important levels. There was an attempt to support the market here, which has failed. There is a level between 16,000 and 20,000, which has had previous support. It's not a big zone of previous support, but it is there. So you'd expect price will attempt to hold on between 16,000 and 20,000. At the moment, it's pretty much just sitting on top of that zone, which is throughout this level. This week, price moved lower. It didn't break down. It's threatening to break down. You'll see that volume was much lower, below average this week. Spread remained narrow. Selling pressure was only modest this week. It may have still been stronger than the demand in the market, but selling pressure reduced this week. That kept the spread or range of the bar narrow and volume lower. So there wasn't really an attempt to buy the market. This was really a quiet week. Activity was low. Price just drifted lower without any real intent. And back to the US dollar index just briefly, because this is the market that really makes a difference right across the broader market. Price is up, challenging the highs again. The market's traded inside this bar for the previous 2 weeks. Volume increased to average this week as price moved higher. I'm expecting with favourable trading conditions, priced to challenge this level at 105 and attempt to move higher. That'll put pressure on the associated commodity markets priced in US dollars and currency markets where the US dollar is the counterparty. Okay, thanks for your time. Hopefully that was worthwhile watching. See ya.